The StG-44 story. Game changer or overhyped myth? Picture this. It's 1943, and World War II is raging across Europe. Bullets are flying, tanks are rolling, and behind the scenes, engineers are racing to build a weapon that could turn the tide of the war. That's when Soviet scouts capture a strange German automatic carbine near the town of Kulm. This weapon was the StG-44, or storm rifle, the world's first assault rifle. What was this mysterious wonder weapon? Why did the Germans pin such high hopes on it? And how did Soviet soldiers and engineers react when they got their hands on it? Buckle up for a thrilling dive into a story filled with innovation, battlefield drama, and a few surprising twists. Oh, and could this rifle really be the ancestor of the iconic AK-47? Let's find out. Chapter 1: The World of Weapons Before the Storm. To grasp why the StG-44 was such a big deal, let's rewind to the early days of World War II. Back then, armies relied on a pretty limited arsenal: rifles, submachine guns, light machine guns, and heavy machine guns. Each had its strengths, but they all came with some serious drawbacks. Rifles, like the Soviet Mosin-Nagant or the German Mauser 98K, were deadly accurate and packed a punch. You could hit a target half a mile away, but their slow rate of fire was a problem. Reloading and working the bolt took time. Precious seconds that could mean life or death in a firefight. Submachine guns, like the Soviet PPSH-41 or the German MP-40, were light, fast-firing, and perfect for close-quarters combat. But try shooting one at 200 yards, and you'd be lucky to hit the broadside of a barn. Light machine guns, such as the Soviet DP-27 or German MG-34, could lay down a hail of bullets, but they were heavy, sometimes over 20 pounds, and often needed a second soldier to help carry ammo or manage the gun. Heavy machine guns were usually mounted on tanks or fixed positions. They were great for mowing down enemies or even taking on low-flying planes, but good luck hauling one through a muddy battlefield. Military leaders on both sides started dreaming of a game changer, a weapon that combined the accuracy of a rifle with the rapid fire of a submachine gun. It had to be lightweight, reliable, easy to use, and cheap to produce. Sounds like a tall order, right? Well, that dream set the stage for the StG-44. Chapter 2: The Birth of the Storm Rifle. In Germany, the task of creating this dream weapon fell to two rockstar gunsmiths, Hugo Schmeisser and Erich Walter. Schmeisser was already a legend for designing the MP-40, the submachine gun you've probably seen in every World War II movie. Their mission? Build an automatic carbine that could switch between single shots for precision and bursts for close combat, all while being practical for the battlefield. Their first prototype, the MKB-42, hit the scene in the early 1940s. It was a game changer because it used a new kind of ammo, the 7.92 by 33 mm Kurz short cartridge. This round was lighter and cheaper than a standard rifle cartridge, but way more powerful than a pistol round. It gave soldiers the ability to shoot accurately up to 600 yards with single shots or spray bursts at closer ranges. Talk about versatility. By 1944, the prototype had evolved into the StG-44, or Sturmgewehr 44, storm rifle. Here's a quick look at its specs. Weight: 11.5 pounds. Heavier than a submachine gun but lighter than most machine guns. Length: about 37 inches. Longer than a submachine gun but shorter than a rifle. Rate of fire: around 600 rounds per minute. Magazine: held 30 rounds, though soldiers often loaded only 25 due to a weak spring. Effective range: 600 yards for single shots, 300 yards for bursts. Design: used stamped metal parts to cut production costs. Sounds pretty impressive, right? But was it the ultimate weapon the Germans hoped for? Let's see what the soldiers who used it thought. Chapter 3: The StG-44 in German hands, hero or hype. By late 1943, Germany had churned out about 23,000 StG-44s. That's not a lot. Nowhere near enough to equip the entire German army. So, the rifles went to elite units like the SS and top-tier army divisions. German soldiers who got their hands on the Storm rifle were blown away by its versatility. It could pick off enemies at a distance like a rifle and spray bullets in close combat like a submachine gun. Whether fighting in the ruins of Stalingrad or the open fields of the Eastern Front, this weapon gave them an edge. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. As soldiers put the StG-44 through its paces, they started noticing some issues. Stamped receiver. To save money, the Germans used stamped metal instead of machined parts. This made the gun cheaper but less durable. Drop it on a rock and you might end up with a bent receiver. Weight. At 11.5 pounds, it was a beast compared to the Soviet PPSH-41, which weighed just 8 pounds. Long marches with this rifle were no picnic. Magazine problems. The 30-round magazine sounded great, but the spring was weak, causing jams if fully loaded. Soldiers often stuck to 25 rounds to avoid trouble. Sensitive to dirt and water. Unlike the rugged MP-40, which could handle mud, snow, or sand like a champ, the StG-44 was a bit of a diva in harsh conditions. Inaccurate bursts. Firing long bursts was a waste of ammo. The gun's recoil made it spray bullets everywhere. Soldiers stuck to short bursts or single shots for better accuracy. Despite these flaws, the StG-44 was a tactical game-changer. It allowed German troops to adapt to different combat scenarios, from urban firefights to open-field battles. So why did the Germans call it a Wunderwaffe, wonder weapon? Part of it was propaganda. By 1943, Germany was losing ground on the Eastern Front, and any new tech was hyped up as a potential war winner. The StG-44 became a symbol of German ingenuity, even if its actual impact was limited by low production numbers. Chapter 4: Soviet Soldiers and Engineers Weigh In. When Soviet scouts captured an StG-44, it caused a stir. Soviet engineers got to work analyzing the strange new weapon, and their report was glowing with fascination. This carbine is a fascinating new type of weapon. It's light enough, about 10 pounds, similar to a self-loading rifle, yet powerful, capable of delivering intense and effective fire up to 600 yards, way beyond what a submachine gun can do. The Soviets were particularly impressed by the 7.92 by 33 mm cartridge. It struck a perfect balance between a rifle round and a pistol round, letting soldiers carry more ammo without sacrificing firepower. A soldier with an StG-44 could haul 1.5 to 1.8 times more rounds than one with a light machine gun, all while maintaining a high rate of fire. The gun's construction also caught their eye. The use of stamped metal, spot welding, and high-quality assembly showed off German engineering at its finest. But the Soviets weren't blind to its flaws. Tricky maintenance. The receiver was hard to access, making it a pain to fix jams in the heat of battle. Picky about conditions. While the Soviet PPSH-41 could fire through mud, snow, or freezing cold, the StG-44 needed more TLC. Ammo production. The new cartridge was a brilliant idea, but mass-producing it during wartime was a logistical nightmare. Soviet soldiers who used captured StG-44s were impressed by its versatility. In urban battles like Stalingrad, it could lay down heavy fire, while in open terrain it could pick off targets at medium range. But they griped about its weight and how it struggled in the brutal conditions of the Eastern Front. Think knee-deep mud and sub-zero temperatures. Chapter 5: StG-44 versus AK-47. Is there a connection? One of the juiciest debates about the StG-44 is whether it inspired the AK-47, the most iconic rifle of all time. Some gun enthusiasts and historians swear that Mikhail Kalashnikov, the AK-47's designer, borrowed heavily from the German Storm rifle. Let's break it down. Similarities. Both use an intermediate cartridge, 7.92 by 33 mm for the StG-44, 7.62 by 39 mm for the AK-47. Both are designed for versatility. Accurate single shots at medium range and rapid bursts up close. Both have a similar layout with a gas-operated mechanism and detachable magazines. Differences. Design. The StG-44's stamped receiver made it less durable. The AK-47 was built like a tank, designed to survive anything the battlefield could throw at it. Cartridge. The Soviet 7.62 by 39 mm was developed independently and proved more versatile than the German Kurz round. Production. The AK-47 was dirt cheap and easy to mass-produce, which is why it became a global legend. Kalashnikov always insisted he didn't copy the StG-44. But let's be real, Soviet engineers studied captured German weapons closely. The StG-44 likely inspired some ideas, but the AK-47 was a unique creation tailored to Soviet needs. Simple, rugged, and ready for mass production. Chapter 6. The Economic and Historical Context. To understand why the StG-44 didn't turn the war in Germany's favor, let's look at the bigger picture. By 1943 to 1944, Germany was in rough shape, resource shortages. Producing the new 7.92 by 33 mm cartridge meant retooling factories, which was tough when raw materials were running low. Limited production. Only about 425,000 StG-44s were made between 1943 and 1945. Compare that to over 6 million Soviet PPSH-41 submachine guns. Strategic missteps. Germany poured resources into flashy wonder weapons like the V-2 rocket or the StG-44, but these projects often fell short due to rush development and logistical challenges. Meanwhile, the Soviets focused on cranking out simple, reliable weapons like the PPSH-41 and Mosin-Nagant rifle. This allowed them to arm millions of soldiers quickly, which was a key factor in their victory. From an economic standpoint, the StG-44 was a gamble that didn't pay off. It was innovative but too expensive and complex for a nation stretched thin by war. The Allies, including the US, also prioritized mass production over experimental tech, churning out weapons like the M1 Garand and Thompson submachine gun in huge numbers. Chapter 7. The StG-44's lasting legacy. Even if the StG-44 didn't win the war, it changed the game for firearms. It was the first true assault rifle, paving the way for modern weapons like the M16, AK-74, and G36. The idea of an intermediate cartridge and a versatile rifle became the blueprint for military firearms worldwide. Fun fact: the StG-44 didn't vanish after 1945. Captured rifles showed up in conflicts like the Korean War, Vietnam War, and even some insurgencies in Latin America and Africa into the 1970s. Talk about staying power. Chapter 8. Why this story matters. The StG-44 isn't just a footnote in history. It's a story about human ingenuity under pressure. It's about trying to build something revolutionary in the chaos of war. The StG-44 wasn't perfect, but it showed the world what was possible, setting the stage for the rifle soldiers carry today. This tale also teaches us about balancing innovation with practicality. The Germans went all in on cutting-edge tech, but their dreams crashed against the realities of war. The Soviets, and later the Americans, focused on reliable, mass-produced weapons, which tipped the scales in their favor. It's a lesson that still resonates in today's high-tech arms race. Chapter 9. My take on the StG-44. When I first learned about the StG-44, I was hooked. It's this fascinating mix of groundbreaking and flawed. On one hand, it was years ahead of its time, introducing ideas that shaped modern warfare. On the other, it was a victim of its own ambition. Too complex, too finicky, too late to make a difference. I can't help but wonder, what if Germany had started developing it earlier? Could it have changed the war's outcome? Probably not, but it's fun to speculate. Hey folks, the StG-44 story is just one chapter in the wild history of World War II weapons. If you love this deep dive, smash that subscribe button and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the StG-44 was a true wonder weapon or an overhyped experiment? Got any World War II stories of your own? Share them below. We're all ears. Your comments keep this community buzzing and inspire us to dig into more epic tales.